Good afternoon, my name is Lochlann. I'm here today with my colleagues David Winter, Terry Price and Shane O'Brien on behalf of UCD Consulting to present to you the board of Saputo or recommendations for the future of your company. Saputo is a very strong one. It's a very strong company, got a very strong history of growth. However, in recent times that growth has stalled. You need to revitalise your company, you need to reinvigorate your company, and that is why we are here today. Today we're going to present to you our initial and ambitious 3-year plan that is going to culminate in an 11% growth for your company, but more importantly, it's going to position you within the market to become global exporters and to take advantage of 2 very vital trends that we're going to explain to you here today. The 2 biggest obstacles to your company achieving this international growth are: number 1, you have very restrained supply of raw materials within your home market due to overreach and regulation, and number 2, you have issues accessing rapidly growing emerging markets. With this in mind, our recommendation is to enter the EU market by acquiring a very good, very high up production and dairy production company known as Lochlann Dairies. Apologies, of Lochlann Dairies, improving their European production and then using that increase in supply to enter the Chinese market and target the upper middle class demographics, which are craving high quality dairy imports. It's not the look of the Irish that you have an EU-based consultancy firm with an agricultural background in front of you here today. We know this market, we live this market, we breathe this market, and so we can confidently tell you that the most exciting place to be in the dairy industry is in the European Union at the moment. The European Union are removing their milk production quotas in 2015. The shackles have been removed, and so the dairy producing countries of the European Union, Ireland, Germany, France, the Netherlands, Poland, are going to massively increase the supply. This is where you're going to get your supply of raw materials to scale up your production to the level needed for internationalisation. Running parallel to this is the trend within the Chinese market, in which that the upper middle classes are craving high quality foreign imports due to a combination of changing demographics, changing disposable incomes, westernisation, and a series of domestic health scares with their own dairy products. Lochlann Industries and the EU as a whole are perfectly positioned to take advantage of these 2 trends. It is an EU company, so it has access to this new supply. It is an Irish company, and Irish dairy is synonymous with quality across the globe, and Irish agriculture ministers have recently signed trade deals to do with agriculture with Chinese foreign ministers. And most importantly, Lochlanns currently have operations within the Chinese market, so you have your foothold, you're already there. Now, we don't want to just focus on the internationalisation, we have to look at the domestic market. It is more difficult to grow within the domestic market, but what we need is creativity, we need entrepreneurship, and so we have identified what we think is a very, very positive, very exciting trend within the dairy nutrition and the nutrition industry. Experts they're talking about a wave-volution, and we're going to get you in on the ground floor of this.
Firstly, I'm just going to go through supply and demand. In the next 12 years, 1 billion people will be added to the world. That's 1 billion more people who want to consume milk, who want to consume cheese, who want to consume dairy products. If you include this with the growing trend in the emerging market for dairy products, the growing demand, the International Dairy Federation estimates that 83 million more cows are needed in the world today. So what I'm essentially trying to say is there is growing demand for dairy products, and the demand is great at the moment. However, Saputo are not in a position to take advantage of this demand and take advantage of this growth. Your hands are tied behind your back due to the strong regulation in your domestic market with regards to supply and due to your low level of international operations. As consultants, we have looked at the worldwide dairy market, and we have attempted to identify possible regions within Saputo can invest in to obtain this supply and thus meet the demand. While doing this, we looked at Saputo's investment criteria. We know that Saputo as a company look for companies that have knowledge, that are efficient, that have growth, and that have future opportunities. We believe that milk needs to be looked at as a commodity, like oil. If you're an oil company, your growth is going to come from identifying new oil wells. It's going to come from finding the supply. We believe we have found Saputo's new well. We believe we've found their new source of supply, and that source of supply is the EU. Within the European Union, there are several investment opportunities which we believe Saputo can take advantage of. However, there's a lot of similarities between countries. If you look at Germany and Ireland, they have almost identical cost production of dairy products. They've identical efficiencies and almost identical net value added. However, we went into even more detail to identify a company which would suit Saputo's criteria for investment. And that is, they like being number one, they like being market leader, they like being the most efficient company. We therefore identified a company called Lochlann Dairies. Lochlann Dairies are the number one dairy food service market leader in the UK and Ireland. And secondly, they are the second largest co-op in Ireland at the moment. How much will this acquisition cost Saputo? Well, looking at historic acquisitions by the company, we believe an average multiple of 0.2 times revenue is applicable, and which will cost the company approximately $158 million. This is in line with previous acquisitions of SKDL in 2006 and Dansko Dairy in 2007. Is the company in a position to purchase this? Without doubt. Only last year it was stated that Saputo can take on an additional 3.9 billion debt on its balance sheet. That's thanks to a debt-equity ratio of 0.22 and cash flows of approximately $90 million. However, why are they investing in the EU? What are they going to get from this acquisition? Well, Saputo placed special emphasis on efficiency, and Europe is one of the most efficient markets going. Take a look at this graph here. Over the last 50, 60 years, the amount of input going into farming has decreased significantly. The amount of farms and the amount of cows has decreased in Europe. However, this is not a negative, this is not something to be concerned about. If you look at the higher output, the output from farms is increasing significantly. The amount of milk produced per cow is increasing. So this is a positive. This shows the efficiency of the European operations, which is a positive and an attraction option for Saputo. However, there are several other attractive options, such as the additional revenue that can be obtained and possible cost savings that can be obtained from the post-merger integration strategies that Saputo has implemented almost twice yearly based on the amount of acquisitions it's made in the last decade. These systems, such as financial and operating, can lead to potential cost synergies. However, taking a step back and looking at the big picture, what we're essentially saying is there's a growing demand for dairy in the world, and the European Union is the well of supply that Saputo needs to tap into. The European Union is attractive for three reasons. Firstly, you look at the EU common market. Secondly, the EU regulation. And thirdly, EU trade agreements. EU common market means that we're not coming here and telling you to invest in a small island off the coast of Europe. As part of the European Union, you're investing in every single state in Europe. However, they're not individual states, they can be thought of as one entity. Trade, ease of trade between the countries, ease of business between the countries, opportunities for investment mean that Saputo can grow within Europe in the coming future. The more attractive option, however, the more attractive aspect of this is EU regulation changes. In 2015, EU regulation will abolish quotas on milk supply. This will mean that the supply of milk in the European Union will increase significantly. As can be seen here, 50% growth in Ireland, 21% growth in Holland, 14% growth in Austria. This will also mean the prices will decrease. 10% in Ireland, 11.9% in Germany, and 10.9% in France. I'm not just throwing numbers at you, they actually mean something. Previously, the EU could not compete with the likes of New Zealand and Argentina. Now, looking at this graph, from 2015 onwards, the EU will become as competitive as the likes of Argentina. What this means is it makes sense for companies to source their milk from Europe. Overall, the level of supply is going to increase in the European Union. Saputo will be able to take advantage of this, and they will therefore be in a better position. As I've already stated, this means that there's going to be more cows essentially in the European Union. We're going to get close to that 83 million figure, and this is a positive because, as I've already stated, the cows are efficient in Europe. They're good at what they do. From a price perspective, it's going to cost less, it's going to be better from a business perspective. It's going to equal unbelievable opportunity for your company. No longer will you have to export milk from Argentina to Europe or Russia. You'll be able to use that milk in Argentina, for example, to grow into the South American market. You can use that milk in Europe to expand and to use this excess milk to deliver it to any emerging market which you see fit, thanks to a very attractive proposition, which is the EU trade agreements.
So, with the EU trade agreements, we have kind of a minor force that helps companies such as Lochlann Dairies go to other places in the world. So, At the moment, for instance, the European Union has agreements with the US, Latin America, Africa, and China. So what do these agreements provide to our business specifically? They provide two things: government trading partnerships and strategic relationships. The government trading partnerships basically provide us small incentives, so things like help with export promotion. And the strategic partnerships, they allow us to get a foot in the door when we're going to a market like China. With Lochlann, for instance, we actually have a small foothold in China, so entering, for example, going there would be a much less risky proposition than otherwise. Now, when we initially looked at Saputo, we realized that it's already strong in the developed markets, and we need to head into the emerging markets. So we looked at the world, the emerging world, 5 billion consumers. And we looked at this from Saputo's perspective. Where can we fill up a share of the stock? So we looked at the countries where dairy consumption was lacking, but there could be trends that would support us. We found Latin America with one of the highest rates at 410 grams per day. We found Africa with one of the lowest rates at 401 grams per day. We also looked at Asia with 140 grams per day. But upon further examination, we've actually found that the lowest and most attractive number to us was China, with only 42 grams of dairy consumed per day. This meant that there is a significant underconsumption, and furthermore, there are trends underpinning a very attractive entrance there. So we thought about it, and we found that entering the market through imports would be the best idea. Fortunately, KPMG seems to think so too. According to the Chinese Dairy Market Report, the largest opportunities may lie in simply importing milk products. So what's this market look like? From 2008 to 2012, the market tripled to 2.5 billion. In the next 4 years, it's supposed to triple again to 7.5 billion. In this market, it's primarily supplied by New Zealand, Germany, and a few small players such as France and Australia. As of right now, we expect that if our company focuses more on China, by 2016 we should be able to realistically gain about maybe a 5% market share foothold, which would translate into 375 million worth of market share in the Chinese market. But then the question, of course, arises: who are we selling to? Who is our target demographic? That's simple: the middle and upper classes in China. According to McKinsey report on the middle class in China, the number is about 96.6 million, and this is a number that's going to be growing into the future. These are educated Chinese citizens who have very often lived, worked, or studied abroad. Their incomes are about 17,000 to about 37,000, and the incomes are, of course, growing as well. And of course, our target market is the imported dairy goods. The volume is already massive. It's 946,000, although this is a small amount compared to the domestic production. The volume has actually grown 19.5%, showing that there's also room for growing the value-added side of the business, Saputo's business, such as cheeses, yogurts, and others. And of course, the question arises: why would the consumers buy this? Now that's simple. They need quality. There is a very strong preference in import quality due to the local quality, poor local quality already available, particularly after the 2008 tainted baby formula scandal and 2003 recall of tainted milk. The Chinese consumers strongly prefer to buy either import products strongly prefer to buy import products. So as a case study, and just to illustrate what we're trying to get at here, we'd like to present New Zealand milk. Over 3 years, from 2009 to 2011, they've grown by 128%. How do they do this? By being a very high quality producer. By being this, they have exported $564 million US worth of milk exports into China, and they've built up an extremely good reputation in the market. At the moment, they're still growing and projected to grow even further. Our hope is that we can provide a brand with the same quality and a great reputation that can match, or ideally even best, New Zealand milk in the Chinese market. So in summary, what would we want to do? We want Saputo to enter the market in China. How do we want to do this? Through acquiring the EU firm and using the existing capacity. And of course, why are we doing this? Because there is a growing market and demand that Saputo simply cannot ignore.
So what of the new management structure considering all this international expansion? Well, quite simply, beforehand we had a management structure that accounted for a geography of Canada, the international, the US, and then the bakery functions. And post-acquisition, we want to create a more lean management structure that's going to take bakery into its different applicable geographies and have EU as a standalone management structure. Simple and straightforward, but in line with our traditional policies. Now, innovation at home. We had a look at how we're going to grow Saputo's traditionally strong and 60% revenue of its revenue Canadian market, and we came up with the following. There's an untapped value currently in Saputo's residual waste. So quite simply, there is for the whey protein that Saputo is supplying for industrial sale at the minute, it's only yielding low margins, and it's not a popular. We're not dealing with a popular trend, which is retail. So if we divert the whey protein into retail to take advantage of higher margins and higher prices on the high street. But what high street products? Well, we're looking at a whey evolution right in front of us in North America. Quite simply, the whey protein within the sports nutrition market is absolutely booming. And this is right up Saputo Street. So the market at the minute is 6.5 billion in size. We're going to rise to about 8 billion by 2016 at the end of our plan. It's growing at 10%. And the most important point here is that 70% of consumers in this market are based right here in North America, in the US and Canada. So we're going to hit those first with our strategy. Now, what size is the market? Well, if we take that translates into a 5.6 billion addressable market here in North America, which if we take 5% of that market share, we're going to add roughly about $300 million to our revenue line over the next 3 years. It's an attractive proposition. So how do you actually do this successfully? Well, there are 3 factors that are going to help towards your success, judging from the marketplace. The first is product authenticity. You've got to bring quality and quality control measures into the way to ensure that gyms will stock your product, the grocery stores will stock your product, and that it'll get past regulation. Secondly, product proliferation. This is important, as not only do you need to be able to supply whey powder, but also the cereal bars in the grocery shop and in the pharmacy, as well as the ready-to-go drinks. This gives you a holistic offering that's going to be competitors. And finally, low cost. Can you do the two of the above at a cost that's going to be attractive to the consumer? Of course, we know this is Saputo's your core competency as a business. We're quite confident that you can nail all these critical success factors and enter this market successfully. There's limited downside to this business venture. We believe it's low risk and medium to high reward. However, if it doesn't work out, if, for example, it's not a diversification that you want to play with, you can hive off this business after building it up for 3 years. There's a lot of private equity interest and strategic buyers in the market, such as Lochlann buying Maximuscle last year, for example, and it's a really attractive proposition that we feel for Saputo. To summarise, we want you to enter the whey sports nutrition market using existing company resources, and finally, why? Because it's going to optimise your financials and your profit.
This was a very quick timeline of our plans to move along, and we can refer back to that later if need be. I'm just going to sum up very, very quickly. In order to continue to grow as a company, you need to internationalise. To internationalise, you need a strong supply and you need to access demand. The EU is going to bring that supply. China is going to bring that demand, and that's going to lead to you becoming leading global exporters. You're a very strong company, you've had continuously strong growth, you cannot stop now, you have to improve, you have to move forwards. We really, really do believe that this company has legendary potential, and we feel that if you follow our recommendations, you will reach and even exceed that potential. Thank you very much, that concludes our presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, so part of your strategy is to export some of the products to China. What is your strategy for distribution in China? How are you going to get, your name out there? How are the products? I guess they're going to come from Europe. How are they going to be distributed?
Well, currently, part of the attractive proposition of purchasing Lochlann in the Irish company which we recommend to acquire is that Lochlann have operations in China at the moment, albeit at a smaller scale when compared to the like of New Zealand Milk, for example. So they already have distribution facilities in place. We're recommending that Saputo purchase Lochlann, so they have the existing knowledge that Lochlann have with regards to the Chinese market and distribution, and then invest into Lochlann so they can increase, if you like, their ability to sell products in China.
Just add to that, we'll also be looking to leverage, they're in there on a small scale, we'll look to leverage the expertise that Saputo is going to bring, because you're already a global company, you're exporting into different markets, you have the knowledge and the expertise of how to scale up these productions and how to do the logistics. So once again, it's the synergies between the two companies. You'll be bringing that knowledge while Lochlann will be bringing you into the Chinese market with the context. So.
No, I was just going to say, so you don't need any Chinese partners or any companies located in China to help you guys.
Well, the hope would be to use essentially two sources. The foreign chains already in China, so Carrefour, Tesco, Walmart, which are already there and already very big, and they only specialize in the segment we're going into, essentially middle to upper class consumers who would actually be shopping there in the first place. But then as well as that, we try to get our product into the imported foodstuff sections of regular Chinese supermarkets. This is a much smaller category, but nonetheless it exists, and personally having lived there for a year, the shelves are very, very large, and you can just see that they're getting bigger year after year.
And just to add to that, it was announced only last week actually that in China there's going to be investment in regards to the dairy market. There's going to be a physical dairy marketplace, if you like, where all the companies can come together and kind of sort of distributors can meet the supplies. And because it's a growing market in China, the Chinese government essentially want to make it as easy as possible to meet this growing market. So from that perspective, if we did feel that we need to find additional distributors or additional help, then it could be sourced from the industry.
So what would be the cost, basically, of you producing a 1 liter of milk in Europe, bringing it to China, versus the current cost of 1 liter of milk produced in China?
It's not even a case of producing the milk in China, because if we're producing milk in China, it's not as competitive on the very basic cost at the farm gate price, and secondly, it does not provide the quality. There's no local producer in China or any foreign country based.
If your price point is very important, okay?
Yeah.
Because even if you have milk with basically natural organic steroids in them, and people are going to love them, if the price point is not right, you're not going to penetrate the markets. A few people will buy that milk, and then it's a perishable product. And that's one of the limitations of this industry, is because, you know, the slogan is produce locally and sell locally, right?
Yep.
So you're going to develop that market in Europe and produce in Europe and ship to China.
Yep.
So what would be the cost, the price point?
Yeah, the price point, and just so, as you can see here, in China, you're looking at approximately $61 for a farm price of milk, okay? So at 2013 prices, okay? This is increasing from 22, so it's increasing at significant amounts. Now, if you're looking at Germany, Poland, EU countries at the moment, this is 2013 figures. These are going to decrease in Germany, for example, by 11.9% when the EU quotas are going to come in. So there's a significant buffer between these two prices with regards to sourcing the milk. With regards to distributing, the likes of Lochlann, to put this into perspective, Lochlann at the moment have revenues of approximately $600 million, okay? And they have operations in China. They are able to export. This small company, in comparison to yourselves with 6 billion revenues, are able to export the milk to China competitively. With this growing difference with Germany, with the EU price point decreasing, if you like, and the Chinese increasing, we believe that it will become even more profitable. And the reason why we haven't suggested to you today to invest into China, for example, to buy a farm in China, is quite simply because, just 1 second, sorry, here. If you look at the farm size in the EU, the trend that's coming, this blue line here on all the slides recommend the small slides, the small farms. Small farms in China at the moment are the majority of farms. So this means it is difficult for companies to come in and to source the milk. It is difficult from a quality perspective, from an efficiency perspective, and from a financial perspective. In Europe, the trend over the last 15, 16 years has been that big farms are increasing along with medium-sized farms. In China, they quite simply haven't got to that point yet. So it doesn't make sense to invest in China and to source the milk there and distribute it. It makes sense to be in Europe, where the big farms, medium farms are efficient, and essentially that's what Saputo is.
So why don't you buy a company in for example, Australia, which is closer, the freight, the transportation would cost much less.
Yeah, again, so going into a country like Australia would be, it doesn't have the same attractive benefits of the EU, which we've already mentioned, in terms of the EU has the EU has the quality, the efficiency, the trade agreements, the common market. We're not suggest there's other benefits aside from going into China than just.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to piggyback on this question, because if you go back to where you see all the price of milk, we're usually a low-cost producer, and what you're suggesting us is even though the prices will go down by 10%, we're still higher than New Zealand. So why should we buy something in the EU when we're high? We're still after 10%. We're still higher than New Zealand.
But you're higher than New Zealand at the 23 figure. But if you look at the trend, Argentina, which you can't see on the graph, is very closely tied to New Zealand farm price of milk, they have been increasing over time. If you go back to here, New Zealand, it is increasing over time. So it will become as competitive as the price of milk. In the first 5 years, it's a 10% decrease on average across the EU in terms of the price of milk. This is expected.
Over 5 years?
Sorry?
10% over 5 years?
It depends on the country. So in Ireland, it's 10%. In Germany, it's 11.9%.
So it's not in 1 year; it's over 5 years.
Yeah, but just on that point, this is a 3-year strategy to put you in the position to take advantage. That drop in the first 5 years, the quotas are only going away in 2015. These countries can't scale up the level of production to get the efficiencies immediately. They can start, but it's going to take a while to increase the herd sizes. You can't just increase the herd size overnight. It's going to increase this price in 5 years. That's quite significant from the start. That they've been stagnated for 30 years. It's dropping 10% within the first 5. That's going to continue. And then you've got the other element to come in of countries like Poland and Eastern European countries. They have massive potential, but they're not as efficient as they could be yet, because obviously they're growing countries. So let's just say Poland is the 4th largest producer, and yet its herd size isn't at the level it should be. It's only at 6 or 7 cows per farmer. That's changing quite rapidly. So again, if you look 10 years down the line, a decade, like 10, 15 years down the line, they're going to be bigger in Germany, they're going to be bigger in the Netherlands, and that's going to massively increase by and massively drop the price, which is why we're saying you're a large company, you have a history, you have a future. We're positioning ourselves in this market now because the changes are happening now, and if you wait 10 years, it might not be there.
Okay, just we're some question on that. Just a simple comment. I'm a finance guy, and I'm surprised I didn't see any numbers. So
yeah, well actually
so
we're just going to point
that's,
to the capital expenditure that we've actually factored in for Europe. So upon acquisition in 2014, you received a 600 million jump from your buying Lochlan's revenue straight away. That's going on for our top line. And then next year, we are investing in capital expenditure in Europe to actually build out what we just talked about. So this is when so basically this capital expenditure here, at this point, the quotas are abolished in Europe, and that's when we're going to kick in terms of growing through Lochlann, growing our distribution, capacity in Europe.
if they don't want to, sorry. Go ahead.
It's time for one more question.
Continue. You're on my own questions. Keep going.
Let's say they don't want to sell. And let's say if Lochlann doesn't want to sell to us.
Yep. As I stated earlier on, within the EU there are numerous investment opportunities. So the Irish and the German market, for example, are almost identical in terms of efficiencies, cost, and net value added. We identified different companies such as the Bell Group in Europe, which could be purchased, and along similar lines. We recommended Lochlann because it was easy to access the information at the point in time. However, we could identify other possible companies that could be acquired. It's not so much investing in this company, it's investing in the EU and the benefits that the EU has to bring. So regardless as to which company we acquire, we believe that the benefits will still be there thanks to the EU common marketplace, the regulation change, and the EU trade agreement.
So maybe quick.
Thank you very
quick
much.
Question?
Time's now up.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question. Okay, I have a question for you. So, are all the EU countries have the same health regulations
With regards to
with regard to producing milk? Do they all have same health
That's the
regulations?
EU regulations across the board.
All of them, they have the same.
As long as they're in the European Union, it's very much.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. My apologies. Thank you.
You were on my own questions, but I want.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You're all over, finished? Yeah. Thank you. Time for the beer now?
Yeah, oh,